Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Tittle Tattle Tarot. It's Georgie. And I thought that the Knights Templar Tarot would be ideal today, as I'm dealing with Marilyn Monroe's third and final marriage to Arthur Miller. This was her longest marriage at about 5 years. Yeah. So I'm not going to go into a lot of background on this. I want the energy surrounding Arthur Miller during this marriage. It's not really keying into Marilyn's energy. It's all from his perspective. He had met her before they married, quite a few years before. They married in 1956. And when he met her during the previous, years, which was quite a long time before 1956, it's reported, and I believe that he said that he could see something very dark in her. And when he left from having met her, it was almost as though he knew he was escaping something that was pulling him to her, a very dark force. And I think that he saw the unhappiness in her, and he saw how destructive it was. And he went back to his wife, not that they were having an affair then, but, he met her then. And you must remember that Arthur Miller, back in the late 40s, 1949, he was a Pulitzer Prize winner for his play Death of a Salesman. And he was toast of the town back then, very much an accomplished playwright. The man could do no wrong back in 1949 when he won this Pulitzer Prize. And then things had started to go downhill for him, very much on the slide. He was accused of being a communist and all kinds of things. His plays were no longer getting the attention that they once had. He was married, but it was very much, I would say, a frigid marriage. He was very repressed in his marriage, and I would imagine that his wife felt the same, that the love had gone from his marriage. So he meets Marilyn Monroe properly, and eventually in 1956 they marry. After a romance of about a year, I guess. And they're known as the hourglass and the egghead, and I think it summed them up beautifully. Brains and the beauty. A very, very strange mix. Arthur Miller said that he didn't think it was, because they were just two people that had been damaged by life and were trying to repair each other. And of course, it never works, does it? The only person that can repair you is you. And I think certainly for Marilyn, she looked outside for a husband to make her happy, to make her life whole, to, repair her in a way. And it never works. It never works. And this was the third marriage that failed. And I want to see what Arthur Miller has to say about this marriage. So 1956, they get married. And I just want to pull a Celtic cross and just go right the way through from the marriage to the divorce and all things in between from Arthur Miller's perspective. So here we go, Celtic cross. And we'll talk about the cards once they're all laid out. Okay, let's see what we've got here. So we're starting off right at the heart of the situation. We have the 9 of Cups. I would imagine this is all from Arthur Miller's point of view. When he married her, Marilyn, 9 of Cups, I can imagine that everything had come to him at once. 9 of Cups is that indulgence card. That is the, I have everything I could want. I've got all my emotions met. He's gone from a very sort of sterile marriage, a very repressed man, to being with this woman who was just such sexual energy, so very different. And I can imagine the Nine of Cups. This is too much sex, too much love. Can you have too much love? But, you know, just like an outpouring of all these emotions, all this repressed energy that he'd had for such a long time coming out. And you could see in their wedding photographs and, all around that time, the actual, the adoration of this woman and her for him. She adored him. But, you know, it was just like this wonderful thing had come into his life. But the Nine of Cups is an excess. It is too much. It is too much. And I think this was the basis of the marriage. It was just built on that over sexual, that over desire, too much of it. So that's at the very heart of the situation. And then we had crossing it, justice. Yeah, I think that they felt between them, especially Arthur Miller, that it was right that he should be with this woman. I don't know whether he thought she has come into my life because it is my mission to mend her. I don't know whether he thought that or whether something in her would mend him, but it's very much the card of this is meant to happen. This is our justice. We are made for each other. It's some kind of fate from the gods that we come together and we heal, we mend ourselves, each other. And I think that is this justice card that's crossing it, the justice of being made whole, the justice of being repaired, the justice of being the damage being repaired to you or to the other person. And in the top of it, Ace of Wands, this all comes back to that sexual card. This is a man who's probably in quite a sort of sexless marriage, a loveless marriage. And now, you know, the two of them, how explosive is this? In the head, it's passion, it's sex. This is the very early stages of marriage. And, and their marriage was built on lust, I think, and, an understanding of each other and thinking that they could repair each other, I think. And then we have the Ace of Wands in the top. There's so much passion in the mind at the start. This is what was there. And in the bottom here, we have Judgment. The Judgment card, well, this is what other people think, other people's judgment of it. And I said to you, didn't I? Oh, the brains and the beauty, the egghead and the hourglass. The judgment was, what a strange mixture this is. This person standing here judging these two tied to a post. Well, this won't last. Well, it didn't last, unfortunately, but people looking at it, not being able to work it out, making judgments. Their whole relationship was about the public looking at them and the film industry and probably other writers, judgments from all quarters, just looking at them and making assumptions about them, looking at their different appearances, their different educations, their different backgrounds, and making judgments about that. So in the past, and I think I'm very often now, I'm not seeing the Four of Pentacles as the greedy miser card. Yes, that is its traditional meaning, but I see this as emotions, holding them to you, things that are unsaid. And I think for both of them, for Arthur Miller and for Marilyn, remember this is Arthur Miller's reading, for him in particular, I think with his last marriage, he had thoughts and feelings and love that had to be locked in a box. As I said to you before, it wasn't a tender marriage. It had died. This marriage had died. And I see this as the love that had to be locked away in the past. And he sort of closed off his heart. And I'm seeing these pentacles as like all these different emotions locked in a box. that he couldn't show and he couldn't express, and he was very repressed. And that's the way I see this, a repressed card. And then, you know, met this woman, and from his point of view, 10 of Pentacles, you know, you've gone from the 4 of Pentacles, trying to hold on to your emotions and locking them away and not wanting to feel lust and love because you're with this woman who, you know, you've lost all passion for. This marriage is dead. And then we move across the bridge, across these this passion, and this is perfectly right, into the near future with Marilyn after they marry. And my goodness, 10 of Pentacles, this is the happy home, this is financial security, this is just all things good, stability at that time. And I think it was, she was very stable, she felt very secure with him, he was like a father figure. For him, she was just like a breath of fresh air. She revitalized him. He blossomed. This is near future. So here we go. Very, very immediate situation. And then we're coming up the outside. So 6 of Wands. Yes, I mean, he felt victorious in this. In the early days, he had got her. You know, how many men would have wanted her, and he got her. And this is very much, oh, you've done really well there. You know, the egghead did well. He got the bombshell, and wow, you know, well done you. Look what you've got. You're batting above your average, sort of thing. So, you know, he was celebrated. Well, you know, there's a lot more going on to our familiar than meets the eye. You know, look what he's snagged. So yeah, there was that. And then the Wheel of Fortune in reverse. But people saw, I think this is the outside looking in, although they sort of congratulated him on this, I think the general energy was, this cannot last. And it's a bit like this Judgment card here. This can't last. The Wheel of Fortune's in reverse. You know, this whole thing, they're going to get stampeded by this wheel. They have nothing in common. I think this is what people saw. I think that Marilyn was much more literary than you know, people thought. She was quite a, you know, she read and she had interest in philosophy and many things that people didn't see about her, but he did. He saw all that. But I think on the whole, people just saw that their differences would pull them apart, and the Wheel of Fortune would ultimately squash them both. You know, it wouldn't be favorable. So the next card that came out was the 8 of Pentacles in reverse. This is the work card. And I think, you know, in the beginning, Arthur Miller really worked. They both worked really hard at this. 8 of Pentacles is the working card, trying to repair each other, trying hard to make this marriage work. But, you know, after a few years, it starts to get very gutty and very hard, because you're dealing with, from his point of view, he's dealing with someone who is very insecure and needed constant validation, constant backup, constant reassurance. And I think it got harder and harder. Look at this figure battling away to, you know, hammer this, whatever it is, this blacksmith hammering this thing. And it got so hard. He was exhausted, I think, by her. He was mentally and physically exhausted by the work he had to put in to try and shore her up, to try and, you know, give her the stability that she needed, the reassurance that she needed. And then we have the Emperor here. I see that as him when he departed from her, when he divorced her. I think that this is him afterwards. I think that he had to be very strong to leave her, very strong to do it, because I think that he knew that she was in such a fragile state, and that to leave her would, you know, ultimately be a bad thing for her. But I think for his own mental stability, he had to leave. And I think this is him being strong mentally to take care of himself. Now, I need to pull more cards, because after he left her, She went into an institution. She had a breakdown, and I see this as the Emperor. This is the quite hard card. This is the hard side of Arthur Miller, and I don't think that he was nasty. The energy I'm getting off this is I have to go to protect myself because she's so damaged. I can't live with this any longer. I can't put the work in any longer because she's a 24-hour-a-day job, and I need to focus on me. And that might seem very selfish, but I think she was just going down into a vortex. And you know, this is his self-preservation card. I have to look after myself. So I might be wrong. Let's just pull something on when he left her. What happened? What happened when Arthur Miller left her? The Hanged Man. Yeah. I can see this as both of them, really. I think this is Arthur Miller. We are looking at his perspective. The Hanged Man. He had to look at her from a different perspective. He had to get the distance from her, because it was all so consuming, all consuming. They were working together on this film, The Misfits, and things were just going from bad to worse on set, you know, and I think that he needed to distance himself, look at her from an objective point of view. And when he looked at her from an objective point of view, he realized, I think, you know, during The Misfits and probably before that, that he couldn't save her. He couldn't save her, and he needed to break away from her, be his own emperor, look after himself, because he couldn't save her. And so she booked herself into an institution just to heal. She had a breakdown really after he went, and she's booked herself into an institution. There you are, Queen of Cups. That is her, isn't it? Queen of Cups. There's all this emotional instability, all the instability of him having gone, because he couldn't handle it anymore. Her cup just running out. This is all that emotion. A Queen of Cups in reverse is mentally unstable, and she was put into or she put herself into a mental facility to recover. So I don't want to go any further into that, because we're branching off into Marilyn, and I want to know about our emperor here, who had to divorce himself from her, mentally and physically divorce himself from her. He didn't go to her funeral. When she passed, he didn't go to her funeral. And a lot of people were, well, that's disrespectful. He didn't love her. He didn't care. He didn't go to her funeral. Eight of Swords. Let me pull another one as well. Two of Swords, yeah. Eight of Swords and Two of Swords. So we look at them upright, first of all. The Eight of Swords is not knowing what to do for the best. And here we are, that indecision card. Eight of Swords, you're blindfolded, you're bound. It's like, what on earth do I do? I'm in this prison, and I can see this as a prison of press and media. Everyone looking at Arthur Miller. What is going to be his reaction? What is he going to do? This same here with the Two of Swords. Will he go to the funeral? Won't he go to the funeral? What's he feeling? What's he feeling? We want to know. You know, this is very much sort of people with swords, with words, sort of attacking. You know, he obviously didn't love her, this, that, and the other. Now he's turned this all upside down. He's gone, bugger the media, bugger the circus. I don't like Hollywood. You can think what you like. Eight of Swords is, your swords don't affect me. The words that you say, I love this woman, but I am not the issue here. This isn't a circus. This is her funeral, and I don't want to be part of this circus. So I think the Eight of Swords here is, I'm not going to be in your prison. I'm not going to be made the scapegoat. You know, I'm letting all these harsh words from the media go, and I'm not going to be some kind of monkey in a cage for you to take photographs of. I'm not going. And this sort of backs it up with the Two of Swords. The Two of Swords, should I go, shouldn't I go? Will he go, won't he go? Well, he's not bloody going. He's not going because it's not about him. And I think he loved her deeply, but they really were from two different worlds. So let's just have a card just to sum everything up. Just see if we can get it in a card, just something to sum this all up. Yeah, look, more Nine of Swords, Nine of Wands, sorry, Nine of Wands. This is your on your knees card. Now this way up, this is battling the press, isn't it? I think, you know, this is battling the public, battling the press, all these jibes at him. Well, you divorced her, you know, you left her, you abandoned her. She ended up in an institution, you know, and Joe DiMaggio had to save her. And now you're not going to her funeral. And this is all these wounds, all these attacks coming to him. And this figure here tries to defend himself against all these barbs and things. No, he's not playing that game. He's not playing that game. In his mind, he did the right thing. He grieved for her privately. It wasn't a circus for him. He let all that go. Whatever things people said in the press or the public, he wasn't going to defend himself. He wasn't going to fight back. He wasn't going to put up barriers and say, you know, no, you're wrong. No, you're this, you're that. He just did his thing, and the press could say what they wanted. People could say what they wanted. So his thoughts looking back on his marriage to Marilyn Monroe, 5 years with Marilyn Monroe, his thoughts about his marriage, and clear all that out of the way. The devil. Yeah, I think it all goes back to that very first card. Do you remember this Nine of Cups came up as the first card, and I said to you, oh, this is the overindulgence. It is too much sex, too much love someone too much. And it is possible, you know, you think, how can you love someone too much? But it is that passion and that fire inside you that is just destructive for both of them, And the Nine of Cups, I think that was at the center of all that Celtic cross, and then asked what he felt about their marriage. Sorry, and I haven't got, I said the devil, sorry, I haven't got my glasses on. How many times do I say that? It's death. And you know, I don't, obviously it did end in death. It ended in her death. Only a very short while after they divorced, it ended in death. So yes, you know, we have a literal element of death, especially with it being reversed. But with death this way up, you know, you can say, well, we did heal each other. We were both broken souls, and, you know, we mended each other. And, you know, we went on and we created a life together. And, you know, out of our tragedy, you know, came the phoenix, and, you know, we resurrected, and we had a life together that made us both whole. Well, it didn't. She ended up dead, and we will come on to that at a later reading, but she died only a short time afterwards, really. And the death here is, we couldn't repair each other. We couldn't make each other phoenixes, you know, and it's just so sad. And I think, you know, this is his ultimate sadness, that this dreadful situation, that they've gone into it so full of hope, so full of, you know, something wonderful is going to be created out of the ashes of our previous lives, out of our previous marriages, out of our previous experiences. You know, we're going to create phoenixes and, you know, repair each other. And no, it couldn't happen. It didn't happen. And we have death in reverse. That is my feeling on Arthur Miller. A lot of people say that he was cold, and that he didn't love her because he didn't go to the funeral. I don't see that at all. I think he was besotted with her too much in the beginning. It was just too much. And he tried so hard to fix her. This is from his point of view, remember. Tried so hard to fix her. And he worked and worked and worked to try, like the blacksmith, forging away, trying to make it work. But it was too exhausting. it mentally exhausted him, and to you know, take care of himself, to prepare, you know, to take after his inner emperor, to be the man that he needed to be. He had to leave her. And then, of course, what happened. But that is my take on her 5-year marriage to Arthur Miller. I've done very little research on this. I did watch the making of the Misfits, and that was the only research that I did. And I do want to see the whole film, The Misfits. If you've seen it, please let me know. Anything that you have to offer on this, I would love to hear, because as always, you fill in the blanks for me and tell me things that I had no idea about. But we will leave it there on husband number 3, and I will be returning to Marilyn Monroe and looking at other facets of her incredible life. And we will be going through readings on different aspects later on. So take care, and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.